Hello guys, I hope I am live now. So I have Bala from 2IIM with me. So, so that is there. And first I'll start off with first thoughts on how slot 1 went, and then we'll go about slot 2. We'll get feedback from Balachandar on slot 2 as well. I've also had a bunch of feedback on slot 2 as well. So please give me some feedback on the chat if audio and video is good. Once that is there, then we'll go ahead. Okay, I have feedback that all good. Super, super, super. Right. So, hi guys. Hope you guys are not devastated now because the paper seemed to be tough from many fronts. A lot of people did mention that the paper was tough. Don't worry about it. You're not alone. It has been tough for everyone or most people. So always remember that. And so first thoughts, the process was conducted, the process was very neat and clean. How do I put it? Um, how the arrangements were made, number of people were coordinated, and how sanitizers were given and all of that. At least in my center, it was done really well. So it was well coordinated. People were there in time. There were no long queues. All of that was there, and it was. I did not expect it to be this well arranged. So it was a good experience in my point of view, especially with the pandemic being still live and kicking right now. So yeah, that is a good thing. Then thoughts about the paper I entered. I had to wait for about. I'll give you my thoughts. Um I entered, and then I had to wait for about 30 minutes before the exam could commence, and then I started with RC. And RC, boy, it was tough. It was tough. At least the level of CAT 2019, if not tougher, because of the timer. It looked easier. It definitely did not look as tough as 19 verbal section, but it was tough. It was tough. So the passages were tricky. Sometimes the questions were tougher. I took the exam in the first lot. So first I'll comment on first lot. So the passages were tough. I could answer only 3 passages and couple of VA questions. Obviously, you guys must know it by now. What are the split up 18 questions, 8 questions, many 4 question RC passages, couple of 5 question RC passages. All of this you might know by now. So no point in discussing that in detail. But the idea is the passages were properly challenging because either the passage was tough to comprehend, or the questions were more of inference based questions that we had not faced. Some of the questions were like, what are the concerns discussed across the passage? So there were questions that were not something that we had not faced a lot. There were tricky in slot 2. I guess Bala mentioned that there were double negatives and everything, so that was there. I spent about 15 minutes in one passage. I think the elephant seal passage, and then and then I knew I was running short of time, and then I could do only 2 more passages, and then a couple of VA questions. I could not solve all of them. Paragraph, para jumble or sentence rearrangement, as you might call it, was decent. It was not utterly confusing. Usually, it used to be like really confusing. This time, it was not. It was not, right. And then your para summary was nice, slightly more confusing. And then your pick the odd sentence, I had no clue. I just marked something because I did not have time, right? Again, the more you read, better it was, because a lot of people told me they were able to do only 2 passages rather than 3, or rather than 4, especially because their reading speed was not great. Again, you cannot hard boot reading speed. You just cannot do it. Right? If you read a lot, your number of passages that you can solve goes up significantly. The number of times you have to read goes down significantly. So I definitely still think, I saw a comment that said read, it did not work. It did work, my friend. It did work. Maybe you did not have the chance to do it the right way, but it did really work. If you have read well, then see, again, all of this is perception. I'm saying 2 passages, 3 passages, all of this. But once when the results are out, you'll know maybe 2 passages right and bunch of VA questions right will cross the 85th percentile or the 90th percentile. Maybe 3 passages will take you to the 98th percentile. We don't know that yet, right? So you might feel like, hey, it's not great, but it could be great. So don't throw in the towel yet. That will be my suggestion. Unless you completely tanked a section or something, I would suggest you from refraining into thinking about, hey, my exam is completely gone, it is whitewashed. Not so. So remember that, right? If you want to have a sense of attempts, I did attempt about 20 questions in the VARC section. With about 4 questions, just took the gamble, and then I just marked some 1, 1, 1, 1, and then I left. But other questions, pretty much, I did do them seriously. Right? This is about the VARC section. Once the VARC section was done, the DILR section, even the instructions told us very clearly that there are going to be 6 question puzzles 2 and then 4 question puzzles 3. So I knew that upfront, even before the exam started, that this was going to be the DILR thing. So I was konjam prepared. I went in and then I looked at, I spent like 3 minutes looking at all the puzzles. Not so lucky for me, the puzzles that were the 6 question puzzles were not in my zone at all. So I chose 2 puzzles. I solved one about musicians and one about cab drivers getting appraisal or performance bonus. I solved 2 puzzles, and then the third puzzle was about vaccine. If I had known how to solve 4 set puzzles, probably that could have been in the sweet spot. Now I'm feeling really bad that I had missed learning on how to solve a 4 set puzzle. Maybe this time I will do that. Right? This is about slot 1. VARC sequence in passage. I think pretty much everybody had the same sequence. I'm not sure. I did it from the first to the last. I did not go through sequences and all because the time was limited. I had to go through them in the order. So elephant seal was one, and then there was one on anarchy. I think anarchy was the first one. Elephant seals was the second, and then there is one more. I don't even remember. Right. So that is there. So this is about the DILR section as well. DILR section was properly challenging. It was not tougher or way tougher than before. It was probably as tough as every year's CAT. About 15, 16, 17, and 18, there's been slight increase, but there is no drastic change in the level of difficulty of DILR, in my opinion, from last year to this year. I think the VARC section was tough, especially because of the number of questions versus the time and the level of difficulty. It was kind of a very unnerving balance. So the passages were slightly tricky, more than tricky. If you have given 60 minutes, you would have solved this VARC section. It would have been phenomenal. But under 40 minutes, it's going to be like a challenging thing to do. So that is how I felt. So yeah, so that is there. Then the quant section, obviously, you guys might know about me. I prepare for arithmetic. I teach arithmetic, so I prepare for arithmetic. Other sections I don't touch. In slot 1, PNC was not there. Permutation and probability was completely not there. And in PNC was not there. I heard in slot 2 there were a couple of questions, or at least one question from PNC. And in slot 1, arithmetic was like 10 questions, and then the remaining about 10 questions in algebra, if I'm not wrong. So it's like we had a lot of questions from your log, functions, inequalities, put together about 10 questions. And then arithmetic put together about 10, 11 questions. In arithmetic, especially speed, time, distance, about 3, 4 questions. And profit and loss, sales related things, about 2 questions, if I'm not wrong. Averages, 1 question. race or a train crossing was one question. All of these were there. What was the theme that I found in arithmetic in slot 1 was that unless your understanding was absolutely spot on, you could not do anything with the paper. The paper was not tough, it was lengthy, because the understanding was really important in that section. Because I was able to solve about 9 questions. The 10th question I was kind of stuck, but I couldn't get to the answer. I spent about 3-4 minutes, but I also knew I had gone through the paper entirely once. I did not have any more questions to try as well, so I said, hey, might as well try this question, right? I got about 9 questions right. Maybe I could have gotten the 10th one right, but not more than that. And I think the arithmetic importance has grown, if not from the last year, if not being the same. So again, one word of if you're thinking about next year's CAT, prepare for arithmetic really well. Like number theory had probably 1 or 2 questions. PNC in my slot had 0 questions. In second slot had 1 or 2 questions. So the important topics are geometry. I had 1 question from mensuration as well, a couple of questions from geometry, and a couple of questions from functions, couple from log and exponents, and then couple from one or two from number theory as well. So this is how the math was there. It was a decent session. Yes, train poll question was there. It was not your standard framework, but you get the idea, you wrap your head around the idea, then you're through. That is how it was. Right. So so this is about slot 1, what my thoughts were. Right. Somebody is asking when will the answer key come. Answer key should be there like in couple of days. In 4-5 days you will get you can have this you will have a download of your answers versus what is the correct answer. So you will have both of them. Right. I think Bala is here waiting. Hi Bala, are you here?
Hi sir, I'm here. Yeah.
1 second. I hope they can hear you as well. Speak for a couple of minutes, something, so that they can also give feedback. I can hear you. I want to make sure if they also can hear you, the audience.
Yeah, sure. Hi guys, I guess you'll be able to hear me right now. I'm hoping that you'll be able to hear. So whatever Bharat sir says for said for the slot 1 applies to slot 2. And one thing which I really liked about how is that the exam was conducted in a really neat manner, as in all the safety measures was taken and there was no usual chaos like previously. There'll be used to be like just before 15 minutes, 20 minutes, students used to be like coming, but many of them stuck to the time which was like given to them and all those things. Everybody did all those things and the safety measures was really good. And one more impressive thing is, instead of the thumb impression, they did have the retinal scan too. So that was also an impressive thing. So they removed all the points of contact. So I would really like to appreciate that. So coming to the paper, so I would say that this was okay. I'll start with VARC. As Bharat sir said, VARC was, I would say, comparable to 2019. The passages were trickier. There was one passage, like the slot 2 first passage was about the carbon emissions and all those things, and it was easier, but the questions were slightly tricky. But I guess that was the easiest of the passages. Other 3 was properly tough, tricky, and all those things. And second passage was something about emperors and piracy and all those things, and that was also I would say a decent read, but the questions were tricky. As Bharat sir said, some of the questions were like inference based and what the author thinks and what can you infer about this and something like that, which was slightly unusual, and a lot of double negatives also, like which are the following if false will support the
double negative, like probably 2019 CAT. Am I right?
Something like that. Yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
Which are the following if false will support the argument or things like that. And
were there inference based questions? We had a couple of inference based questions in slot 1.
Okay.
What do you infer? No, I'm asking you, were there inference based questions
in slot 1?
No, in slot 2.
It's inference based question was definitely there. It was there.
Okay.
And as you said, you mentioned some unusual question, right? There was one unusual question. Similar to that, there was in the slot 2 also, I noticed there was one unusual question which I've never come across in any of the marks or RCs or something like that. So that was definitely unusual. Like there was one statement said by the author and they said with what assumption or what something did this author say this? What was his thought process behind it or something like that? So that one was a very tricky question. So like this, because of this put together with the time crunch, it was a really difficult PRC, at least in my perspective.
I also thought the time crunch had a big role to play in deciding how difficult it felt.
Definitely. I would say, as Bharat sir said, like the questions and the passage readability was comparable to 2019, but just because you had 20 minutes less, many people were like the anxiety took up role in that.
Yes,
and all those
absolutely,
things.
absolutely. It plays a great role if you can temper your anxiety and then let your adrenaline do the work for you. For some, it would have. For more than few, it might not have worked their way. So yeah, so it happens. So your VRC is done. What about your DILR? How did you feel about the DILR section?
Sorry, I just go back to VRC one. So I did not talk about this sentence
Verbal.
rearrangement and other verbal ability. Verbal ability was slightly. I felt it was easier, but I did not have time to attempt a lot of those questions. Like passages took time, and when I came to VRC, I found there were 3 para summary, and 2 of them were easier, and 1 was tougher. I could not even some of the ideas that I could not even pick up because of the time crunch and all those things. So 2 were easy, one was very tough, and sentence rearrangement was actually doable. Like last time it was doable, but again due to the time crunch, I couldn't attempt a lot of questions.
Yes. Even in slot 1, sentence rearrangement was actually nice. Usually, Rajesh saying, "Hey, sentence rearrangement is really tough," and as in there are 120 possibilities. How do you get there and all of that? But today's sentence rearrangement, I guess 4 options, right? Not 5, 4 sentences, right?
4 sentences.
So 4 sentences. I'm just confirming. It's been a while. So like, okay, the 4 sentences thing, I also felt like it fell in place. The sentences were not really tough, not very tricky. I don't know. Maybe the cat answer key might be different, but the idea is at least it was not tricky for me when I looked at sentence rearrangement.
Definitely. Odd one out, 1 or 2 I could do, and again it was trickier, so I could not gauge. Like I don't even have time to gauge all those things. Like the 40 minutes was like completely packed, and it was tough, properly tough. And coming to DILR, I would say DILR was actually tough in my perspective compared to last year. It was tough because I couldn't find any freebie sets. So last year, if you compare last year's DILR, there was this rainfall set and all those things. Like those sets were freebies, right? Like if you sit through the set, you will get it. Correct, I did not find sets like that in this particular at least in slot 2. I guess slot 1 was also the same as the case. Definitely 2 sets were doable in my opinion. 1 to 2 sets was definitely doable. I guess right now you might know all the pattern. Like there were 2 6-question sets and 3 4-question sets. So definitely 2 or 1. Definitely 1 is doable, and slightly more than that is also doable. But I guess a lot of them were not able to do because of the anxiety part, and people were like, there's a lot of. That's why I guess it felt a lot more difficult than what it is. So that's what I felt. So a lot of them said it was moderate to difficult, but actually because of the time crunch, like shuttling between sets and all those things, and that made the difficulty seem it more difficult than it is actually.
Okay.
So that's what I felt for DLR.
Okay.
So
I also heard that two puzzles were like doable, 2 puzzles were like super tough. This opinion was like across the board. So many people mentioned to me that in slot 2, DLR 1 6-question puzzle and 1 4-question puzzle were like okay, doable, we can do, but the other 2, 1 6-question and other 4-question was like nightmarish.
Correct. There were one rearrangement question which was a nightmare. Like there were a lot of cases, too many constraints and all those things, and it was definitely a nightmare and a lot of data. As in, that's what I said. There was no freebie in this particular section like last year. So I guess that's what made it even more difficult.
I also heard. I have one thing to convey here. In slot 1 DILR, I personally felt that the importance of numbers had gone down significantly, and the importance of logic was significantly high. So what do you mean by that? The numerical calculations that we had to do, at least the puzzles that I selected, I tried solving 3. So out of the 3, the number calculation, number intensive DI type thing was much easier, much simpler. and you had to work with lots of constraints. Even for the puzzles that I did not solve, even the 6-question puzzles, there were like 8 constraints, 10 constraints, if I'm not wrong. So I heard it was not that way in slot 2. Is that true?
Sorry, come again. So yeah, I would say there was one DI set which was slightly, I would say, not easy but doable.
Okay.
But I couldn't find a lot of number based sets actually. There was only one set in that. So nothing more than that. But yeah, I would say even that set was doable. I would say not very difficult, as you said.
Okay. So they had slightly more DI per se in slot 2 versus slot 1. But again, it keeps changing between slots. We don't have a good handle on this is how it is going.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
There was no like proper DI sets.
Okay.
There was only one set which was a I felt it was a proper DI set and it was doable.
Correct. Other than in slot 1, I think there was not even one set that was proper DI.
Okay.
That was the difference. So which is why there's no clear pattern that we can discern unless we see what happens in slot 3 and then see where it takes us.
Correct. But yeah, there was one pure DI set was there.
Okay. So what about your quants? How did it go? What was the distribution? How did it feel? Easy, good, bad, tough, ugly? How did it go?
Okay. So as far as quant is concerned, like I would say, as Bharat sir pointed out, the arithmetic questions was there. Like maybe we felt, or I felt it was slightly lesser because the number of questions shrinked, right? Like so maybe that's because I felt the number of questions was slightly lesser. But definitely I would say proportionally it was there. Like out of like 24 questions or something, I would say more than 10 questions were arithmetic and it was doable. But the only thing, as pointed out by Bharat sir, is that it was not, many were not freebies and you have to sit and do it. Like if you have to understand the fundamentals behind it. And even a profit and loss question, they was like you have to sit through 3 minutes to solve that question. Maybe there were 1 or 2 which were easy, like not the profit and loss, but some other questions, some raises question, I guess. So that were easy. But other than that, like you have to properly understand the fundamentals and you should be able to solve it. And there is no like easily in under 1 minute you can do this question or something like that. Those kind of questions are not there properly. Like you have to sit and solve like at least 2 minutes on an average. I'm talking about from an average person's perspective. So you have to sit and solve and all those things.
Okay.
So yeah, it was I would say the level of difficulty is slightly higher than 2019's quant, I would say, because I felt 2019 had a little bit more easier questions than this. But definitely easier than 2018's quant. And the bias, like the PNC, I could not find questions. Like maybe 1 or 2 was there, but I did not look through it. And there was only 1 log question, and again that was difficult. Like it was not a proper easy.
Only 1 log question.
Only 1 log question.
Slot 1, there are like definitely at least 2 log questions.
Okay, because one of my strengths is log. I like doing log, so I was searching for log, and there was only 1 question at the end, and that was also not easy. So yeah, other like there were functions questions, 1 or 2 functions questions where there, inequalities was there, and a lot of those questions like put together, I would say that will come under like 10 to 12 questions.
Okay.
So geometry also, like geometry, I would say 2 to 3 was there. Like there was 1 circles question, equilateral triangle. There were 2 to 3 equilateral triangle questions.
Nice. I don't think in slot 1 there are any of equilateral triangles or anything to do with triangles at all. There is only 1 rhombus question, rhombus and a circle, I guess, and then there are a couple of more questions. I don't remember really because I just sifted through the geometry. So yeah, that is there.
1 question, I guess, was pretty tough in geometry. I did not touch that, but other equilateral triangle question was fairly easy. So that was doable. So I would say that's what like the section is somewhere in between 2018 and 2019, definitely. Like 2019 also slightly tougher than 2019 and slightly easier than 2018.
Okay. 1 second. Okay, so I'm also going to share my screen, and I hope you guys can see my screen as well. It should be visible in some while. Right. Again, the idea is that Guys, if you're expecting score versus percentile, we will do it in the session at 9 o'clock. So today at 9 p.m. there is another session is there. So we will do the score versus percentile thing there. There is also a link available in the description of this video where you can click and then bookmark that link. That link will get updated once we know what could be the estimated score versus percentile based on how did the exam go. Slot 1 versus 2 versus 3. We'll have a lot of debates and then we'll figure out what is possible. Again, all that being said and done, these are hopeful numbers. These are not going to be accurate numbers. The accurate numbers you can only get them once you get your actual percentiles, right? There could be some normalization. People don't worry about one section DILR being tough, another section easy. So what happens? So and are we screwed, or is some other section given that much of an advantage and all of that? None of that is true, because there is something called as normalization. So normalization will help you if the entire batch scores or slot scores are going to be significantly lesser on an average versus another slot. There is normalization and it helps. It helps bringing things to a balance. So remember that. So for most of you who are here, or all of you who are here, are not from slot 3. Obviously slot 3 people are writing the exam right now. So slot 1 and slot 2, you're done with this. So remember that you're done with this, right? Things to focus. What about pain and agony? See, another thing, beautiful thing that we fail to realize is that most people are feeling miserable right now, or at least I would say many, if not most. It is not what they expected. Many people, whatever they expected did not happen, right? So remember that if that is the case, which means you are not in a really bad place, because it's an exam that is comparative. If the overall, let's say 90th percentile, means there has to be, out of every 100 people, 90 people have to be below your scores. If the paper is actually tough, then the score for that 90th percentile is going to go down. So remember that, right? So don't really worry about it. It is okay. Couple of days, 1 or 2 days, you're worried and all of that. It is all right. It is okay. It's okay. Most people are here in that case. It is all right. There are always second chances. There are always third chances. Don't worry about it. I know people who prepared really well for CAT and then CAT did not go well. And then they went on to go to XLRA after nailing their SAT, or nailed IIFT and then got a great, fantastic percentile in IIFT and then joined IIFT. All of this has happened. Even last year, one of our students prepared really well. I know him personally, prepared really well. CAT did not go well as he expected. He finished SNAP and then he got a great percentile, and then he went on to SIBM Pune, I guess. It's a fantastic school, slightly more expensive, but fantastic school, nevertheless. So remember that it is all right. CAT is just one exam. It is not end of the world if CAT did not go well. Always remember that. Have that hope with you. All right. If you are writing other exams, go ahead and write them. Don't keep worrying about what happened with CAT. It is all right. I can see a comment that says feeling low and all of that. It is true. Take a couple of days off. Don't do anything else. Feel low, cry, do whatever you have to do to get that pain out of your system. But I can tell you, you can get that pain out of your system. Once that is done, start afresh for your SNAP or SAT or IFT, whatever exams that you are writing after this. So remember that. Don't really keep worrying. See, you can worry for 2 days, but you can't keep worrying for the next 3 months about CAT did not go well. It is all right. Right. Again, somebody questioned about second attempt did not go well. What should I do? Right. Arvind joined NITI this year with his 5th CAT. I joined IIT Madras with my 4th CAT score. So a lot of people, I know someone from 2IIM who joined IIM Calcutta with his 5th CAT score. Right. Every year, one thing will go right and one thing will go wrong for him. This is like 10 years ago. So and finally he nailed this exam, and then he went on to go to IIM Calcutta, right? So So it happens. It is all right. It is not end of the world by any standards, by any means. Always remember that. Right. I don't want to really comment on what attempts versus what percentile can be expected right now. Most likely tonight, 9 o'clock session, Rajesh will be there. Rajesh is taking his exam right now. So he's in the third slot. So once we have a discussion, we will have a better handle on what could be the percentile score, what could be the numbers and all of that. Definitely check out the link in the description, bookmark that link. It will be helpful. It will be helpful. So remember that. We will update what is our thoughts on expected score versus percentile and see where it takes you. But don't fret too much. In a couple of days, your wait till percentiles. You don't have to. In a couple of days, you will get your answer key with your attempts. So you can sit, take an Excel, and then get your scores. So once your scores are there, you'll have more clarity on comparison. You can say, hey, too many people have gotten 85, which means 85 is not a fantastic score. Too little people have gotten 100 plus, which means 100 is probably a fantastic score. So you will have that sense. You will not have an exact number, but you'll have that sense once your score comes in. So remember that. Thank you, Abhishek, about Bharat Sir's list. Thank you so much. I take immense effort in reading a lot of articles and then sifting through them and then putting them across in one chunk. Right, that will be useful for CAT aspirants. So please spread the word. If you find it useful, share it with people. Right, it means a lot. Please do like this video as well. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe as well. It helps us keep going. I saw a bunch of videos across the board on YouTube about how slot 1 was, how slot 2 was. People were talking random things. We did not want to do that, which is why our timing is also after slot 3 people have gone in. We want to convey how our experience was. We don't want to like take some information and then make something clickbaity out of it and all of that, right? So like Rahul says, reduce the time, increase the difficulty, which means lot of people are going to face this. They have lesser time and increased difficulty. So definitely the scores, or the high chances the scores might come down. What percentile the scores might come down. If that happens, then you're through, right? How does normalization based on number of attempts in section, not number of attempts, is more of a they'll take the mean score, median score in the entire slot and use that information to compare with the other slot. And then if one slot is like completely down compared to the other slot, they will push this slightly up, pull down that down slightly. So they'll do this so that the scores look reasonable. So your original scores that you get from your answer key that you get is also not the end, because there will be some amount of normalization. Normalization can usually happen about like give or take 8-10 marks usually. That is how maximum normalization will happen, not more than that. So remember that, right? Improve reading for that. What is the starting point? Starting point is Bharat's reading list. You go to Google, search for Bharat's reading list, and then you pick up article after article after article and then read them. Right, so see, bombed DLR, cat ruined. Don't worry about it, because again, I'm going back to my example from 2015. CAT 2014 DLR 25 questions was 95th percentile in CAT 14. In CAT 15, 16 questions gave 98th percentile. Right, like 1/3 lesser number of questions, but percentile is like 5-7 percentiles high in the fag end of your percentile range. So anything can happen. Maybe one puzzle in DLR in slot 2 might be equivalent of 1.5 puzzles in slot 1. We don't know that yet. Don't panic. It is not the time to panic. Put in efforts to make the pain and agony go away. Push it out of the system. Watch, binge watch something, watch a movie, do what makes you go to your happy place, and then pull your socks up and then say, from day after tomorrow, I'm going to do this. I'm going to prepare for XAT. I'm going to start solving past XAT papers, all of that, right? VRC is doable. Lot of inference based question. I found VA a little difficult. 3 RCs were doable. Yes, I agree with that. Any videos from 2IM for XAT, IFT, Snap? For XAT, definitely yes. Check out our channel. We have continuously been posting XAT Quant videos. XAT BDM videos might be up soon as well. IFT, we will post bunch of videos for that as well, right? Absolutely. What Chaitanya says, I'll completely agree. In many of these sections, you find that, hey, you give me more time, I can solve this entirely. But the time is the crucial resource that is not available for everybody. So how you manage time, how you manage pressure was for everybody. So remember that. Right. So cheers, guys. We are not commenting on percentile versus score intentionally. There is a link in the description. Go there, bookmark it, stay there. By tonight's session, most likely the page should be up and running with all details related to how today's exam across the sections went and what could be the percentile ranges and everything. Right. All the best, guys. Do join us at 9 p.m. with Rajesh as well, so that you get to know more about how did it go for Rajesh sir and what are his thoughts. He must have had so many inputs from so many people. So what his collected thoughts are and what happens and how do you think about this and everything. EQ was important in cat community more than IQ. I will agree to that. I will agree to that. How temperamentally sound you are mattered more than anything else in my point of view as well. Obviously, you cannot blankly go and sit in the paper with a brilliant EQ. You got to have prepared well. But other than that, even if you are prepared, how can you handle the pressure? How can you sit through those 2 hours mattered more than anything else. How you can not stare at the timer and keep worrying, but rather look at the question and then keep solving. That mattered a lot. All the best, guys. All the best. Cheers from all of us at 2IM. So thank you, guys. Thanks for joining. Definitely join our session tonight as well. Definitely like this video. Please like this video. Please subscribe to our channel. We keep bringing phenomenal content, high quality, non-clickbaity, relevant content, and every like matters to us. Every subscription matters to us. So thank you once again. All the best, guys. All the best. Cheers.